Alrighty, so we are on another major trend again. We've been here before, but we are hitting that again. And as you guys can see in the title today, I am looking to deploy in some trades. I am in some current trades right now. I've got my competition account moving. I think I'm sitting third in the one, and I'm sitting, I think, 18th in the other. So that's going to be exciting. I want to show you guys what I'm doing short time frame. But then we've got to focus on the larger time frame again and understand where we are with Bitcoin. We are on the major trend line. Yesterday, we saw a nice little 1 hour bounce. We saw some volume come in. We saw a nice little spike. And what happened is we've come back to full imbalance. So if this is a bullish move, this is where we should hold. And from here, we should chase the next higher high. Now, remember, we are focusing ultimately on this weekly chart. And as you can see, yesterday was the first time we actually slightly closed outside of this major trend line. And now we are out, which means something has shifted. Now, either it's a trending market sideways or it is the relief bounce. We're looking to get us back close to the 25K zone. But it is a time to be paying attention because for the first time, we are actually outside of that trend line. We have the stock markets, which did break an 8-hour trend. We have the Dixie, which showed quite a big reversal. And we have the 10-year yield also showing a quite big reversal. Will this be the month? Will November be a month of gains? Let's chat about it. James, smash a button. Let's hit it.
Click, click. Have you heard the news? What? With his finger on the pulse, it's like Sheldon knew. Click, click. When the sniper shoots, we got Sheldon on the charts, so we never lose. Enter the sniper, sharpshooter advisor. Enter the sniper, he marks the charts right. Enter the sniper, he's calling the cycles. So enter the sniper, click, click, click. Time to be dedicated, sniper mode is activated. Explosions in the market are in target and Sheldon demonstrates. Mirror, mirror on the wall, Master Sheldon tell us all. We got Sheldon on the charts, so we never lose. Enter the sniper, sharpshooter advisor. Enter the sniper, he marks the charts right. Enter the sniper, he's calling the cycles. Enter the sniper, click, click. Enter the sniper. Enter the sniper.
Yo, Banter fam, what's happening? Hope you all have a great weekend. As you can see, movement on the market. Will it be something that can...
Bro, your mic, it's muted itself. It was sounding dodgy, and now it's muted.
Do I sound okay now?
You sound quite nice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. What's up, guys? Hope
good.
you're doing well. Okay, cool. What's up, guys? Hope you're all doing fantastic today. If you're new, smash that subscribe button. Beloved Banter fam, smash that like button. Remember, guys, to follow all of our social medias. Follow me on Twitter. I got a new strategy now of placing a lot of trades. Last week, I had a stoppage, which was about a $2,000 loss, but I've been rebuilding. And ultimately, what I'm doing through this time is I'm looking to build a $500,000 position, $500,000 position for the next leg up. So I'm actually quite happy that it has taken a little bit of time here because it takes time to build these positions. But make sure you follow me on Twitter, guys. Make sure you're following all of our social media platforms, which you'll find below in the description. Remember, guys, we have the competition that's currently running. I think we're looking to win up to $155,000. I think with the amount of people that we have, it's around about $100,000 between BitGet and ByBit. Remember to join. You basically make sure you're using one of our referral links below of our ByBit or BitGet accounts, and you'll click on this link over here, and you can join the competition. It's a great way to rate yourself. Currently, if we have to have a look, I am sitting fourth in BitGet. I finally started on, I think it was Saturday. I started getting in, and we had a dip off last week again, another little quick dip off. I managed to get a good entry at that stage, and it's probably one entry that I'm going to hold throughout the whole competition. And I think that's the beautiful thing with this. People think in and out, in and out. If you get one good entry, you can hold it throughout the whole competition. So I'm 100% up at the moment on the trade, and that trade for me is a Theta trade. As you can see, I'm $101, 101% up currently over there. And then I'm 16th. This one, not as great of an entry as the other one, but I'm 16th with a 50% up at the moment with ByBit. So the whole goal with this, guys, is to share my trades as I'm doing it, teach you how I'm doing it, so that ultimately you can do well. And remember, it's not about winning the prize money. It's ultimately about making money for the month. And sometimes you need some competition to help you with that. So it's a great way to rate yourself. And remember, guys, to get onto our Discord, you need to be using one of our referral links to get you into the VIP group on that. Join BBS. Tons of free alpha there every single day. Make sure you're a part of all of that. Okay, let's jump in, guys. So as I said previously, right now I'm giving you 3 different time frames. Right now we have Bitcoin that just touched yesterday the region of the $19,000 700 mark. Now, as time goes on, and the more we trend sideways, because let's be honest, you know, Bitcoin's been basically hugging 19,000 and 19,500 for the last 2-3 weeks, and it has a nice little slight wick now and then that drops before it. But every time we are starting to get some really good candles. Remember, with candles, guys, and especially on higher time frames, you want to see these pin bars. The more pin bars we see, it's just showing us an intra zone of where we are getting some decent volume size buy ups. And you could see previously we had the drop off. I think it was last week or the week before, we went down to the 18K. That got bought up pretty quick. We then had another drop off. I think it was end of last week, and basically that dropped off to around 18,600, and that got bought up too. So I do like to see these pin bar candles. It does give us, you know, think about it. When that time is happening and we're getting these big dip offs, everyone's panicking. The extreme fear is in. So it's definitely not retail buying that up, but someone's buying it up. And you can see it's more bigger buys that are happening where we are dropping really quick and it's getting bought up in the day. So I do like to see that. And then the longer that we go sideways in this range, the lower the breakout level becomes. So we've been speaking about last week that 20K was the level to break out and to get a move for Bitcoin to finally get back either to the 22K or the 25K zone. The longer we take, the more it moves down because the trend only moves down. So right now we're looking at the $19,000 700 mark. The area that we hit off last night and where we closed off is the area where we can see a breakout of this daily trend that we're speaking of. Now, one thing that I do want to see is we did have a nice green candle yesterday, a good 1 hour bounce, and I'll jump into that shortly. The main thing we want to see today is that this red candle does not engulf. It does not engulf, and what I mean by that, it's not bigger than the green candle. If it's smaller than the green candle, this is bullish. This is engulfing candle, something that's swallowed up. If you look here, they worked really hard over 4 days to get the price of Bitcoin down. And then within 1 day, they managed to swallow up 2-3 days of all the hard work that they tried to do to get it down. So when we see an engulfing candle like this, it is a good sign, especially on a high time frame. We just want to see what happens after that. And what happens after that is we do sometimes get, like we're seeing a red candle now, but we want to see if this red candle is smaller than this the green candle from yesterday, it can be a good sign. And ultimately, we are on resistance again for that area. Now, let's jump in to the 1 hour and go see, well, just before that, let's quickly look at the weekly. Remember, guys, weekly has broken out. The RSI is still in no man's land, which means adding tons to your portfolio right now doesn't make too much sense unless it's the bottom range of around 17, 18K. But selling out of your portfolio also doesn't make sense because we are sitting in the middle range over here. So what I've been speaking about is I am still looking at a temporary push up in the market at some points. And that temporary push up for me is around 25 to probably the 28K region. And that will get this RSI through to the top. And that's when I'm starting to exit quite a large percentage of my portfolio. And when do I buy back? When the weekly stochastic hits the bottom again, as it has done many times. And it's always been a really powerful strategy to stick to that every time we are getting these. So I'm basically waiting for the RSIs to get to the top. I'm not adding too much to my bags right now. I do know it's a prolonged bear market. We could be here for another year or two, but ultimately I'm looking at where I can offload. And if we have broken out of this trend over here now, the next resistance is at 25, and the one after that is around 30 to 34K. So we got to keep our eyes open because it can come at any point. You can hit any range of just having 1 or 2 decent weekly size candles. And that should always be the era of us exiting. You know, a lot of people have been asking the question, should I get out of the market now? Should I take profit? Not even take profit. Should I get out? Because apparently we're in a very long bear market and things are not looking good. We need to ultimately still stick to the strategy of when we have a really good week or two of green, week 2, 3 week, 4 week, that is the time to start exiting the market, not once we've already been flushed, because ultimately the market is going to continuously try flush out and they're going to panic. And we just saw it, everything looks bad, right? Everything looks terrible. So then why are we getting, every time we go into really danger zone for the possibility of 14K, why is it getting bought up all the time? So we keep hearing from everyone, it's really bad, really bad, really bad. Someone keeps damn buying every time it gets there. So clearly it's not so bad when everyone is panicked out, and we are getting a lot of interest in these areas. So we got to pay big attention to that. Now, before I jump into the 1 hour, let's quickly have a look. What are the good signs versus what's the bad signs for this week to come? Now, the one good one, let's have a look here, is the stock markets. If you do have a look at the stock markets, the stock market did bounce in a very higher time frame, good support zone, and that was the weekly. If you go to the weekly, we have come down from the high of 37K. We came down to test this area over here, and we officially have had a temporary bounce here. Now, what I've done over there is I've also put in the trend line, and all of a sudden the stock market, as soon as it broke it, you could see how volume started to come into play. So the stock market right now has made a short-term breakout to the upside. And what it is doing is it is fighting a resistance, which is this resistance point over here. Let me make that a nice little red, which is this previous low. Remember, what's previous support is now resistance. So that is the area, and that's why we're currently fighting right now. But if stock market can break through 31,400, the futures, you can be looking at the next area, which is basically this zone over here. And if we look at percentage-wise, we could see basically from there to there could be another 5%. Now, yes, we could also get a retest. Now, a retest would be us coming and testing the breakout that we've just made, which means we could come and test this little area over here. And chart-wise, that would always be a place to basically look for short-term entries. Because I think right now we do have to focus short time frame. Larger time frame, we're waiting for weekly. We're waiting for it to get. But ultimately, to get the good entries and to understand where we're at, we've got to focus on shorter time frames as well. So if we look, the possibility, stock market, small rejection here, we can be looking at a 2 to 2.5% to come retest. Or we could break through from here, first go 4% up, and then we can be looking at a possible inverse head and shoulders, which would basically be this left shoulder, it would be the head, it would be the right shoulder, and this would ultimately give us a decent little finish for the end of the year. Now, if this pattern did have to play out, there could be a possibility that stock markets only get, it's crazy, it's actually crazy, maybe get around 5% from all-time high. Maybe we just touch it, maybe we don't, but we got to look at it that if this bullish pattern does play out, we could still have, it's midterm elections. Why would they not have a good finish just because it's been such a very bad year? Now, in order for that to play out, we need this chart, this main chart over here to play out. Let me jump through. Where is my... Here we go. We need this chart, which is the Dixie. Now, the Dixie is important for us to break this trend. We did get a really big reversal candle. For me, we spoke about engulfing. That's a bearish engulfing candle. That you could see that they try to push this up over a week, 7 to 9 days, they tried to push this price up, and it got swallowed up in 1 day. And look how big it actually got swallowed up. And what it actually did is it formed us to come back to support again. And ultimately, it's always going to hold and fight its best to hold this area, because if the Dixie does finally drop this trend, we can be looking at Dixie having a good 4, 5, 6% drop within that. And that could possibly get the stock market to those higher ranges that we've been talking about. Now, the next big one is the 10-year yield as well. Now, this is something that just hasn't stopped climbing. It's been moving and moving and moving. And we do have a temporary reversal candle that's formed over here, where we started to form a wick out. We engulfed this candle. So the red one was bigger than the green, very similar to this area over here, where we engulfed all this green over here. And what that caused was a temporary downfall. And it basically gave us a week or two of the 10-year going down. Now, remember at this stage, when this did happen, we did have quite a good bullish market. So it's the same thing over here. This is basically a temporary reversal for me over here. Obviously, what invalidates that is us breaking the high again and getting through that. But ultimately from here, it's showing us a downfall to this trend line. And if we can break that trend line, then we're finally breaking quite a long trend line that we've been forming within the whole of the last year. And that could ultimately give us the big pullback we've been waiting for, which can get us back to these areas, which is big. It's 30, 40% down within the 10-year yield, which still makes it bullish on the high time frame. You'd probably want to be loading up if you focus on it as a normal sort of chart at those areas. But at some point, this has just been going up way too strong, and we're going to have that reversal. And that's possibly what we need for the stock market to get where it needs to get. Now, let's focus on the short-term trades and what I'm actually looking at doing here. Let's jump onto the 1 hour, and let's go look at the way I'm looking at playing the Bitcoin breakout of what we got yesterday. There we go. So for me, it's looking pretty good, this temporary little bounce that we're getting. And what happens is we had this massive engulfing, big green candle. Sometimes it moves too fast. So remember never to chase when you see this massive candle forming. You actually want to buy the retest. And what it does is it just comes and tests these supports. So right now, what I'm thinking is going to happen with Bitcoin is I think it's actually going to form a bull flag. And what I'm thinking is this basically shoots up over here. We make a lower high. We break down, we make a higher low, and ultimately we're going to form this flag. Okay. Now, what I'm doing is any of these support buys, I'm building short-term. Guys, short-term's where the money's to be made right now, because finally Bitcoin's given us a little bit of a bigger range for the week. And long time frame, we are waiting. We're waiting to see if Bitcoin, where it goes through from that. But short time frame is mainly the money that we're being offered for in the market. So I'm using the current range that we are getting. So I've loaded up those positions that I showed you guys on my trading account in these areas. And I'm loading up on the next higher low for me over here. And this will be a reset of the RSI. And from this, I'm basically looking at a bullish pattern of us make our way to the key area. And like I said, the $19,700 is the area for me on larger time frames for the key breakout to actually get some real acceleration, up to the 22 to the 25. Now, remember, this is me. I'm not saying that it's bull run and it's these things. I am seeing possible gains to the upside, but I'm actually using it on a high time frame to get a big portion of my portfolio out of the market. So I can't switch negative now when we've had so many flush outs. I am waiting for the weekly stock to get to the top, and then I'm basically looking to play on that. So bull flag is what I'm looking at for now. There is a possibility that Bitcoin from here can go chase that area. But we do know the area of last night that we closed up is the critical zone for us to have a decent breakout of the market. And we need to pay attention to that, guys. There's a lot of shorts in this area, and there's a lot of stop losses in these areas too. And that's when you can start to see that big acceleration. I'm telling you, if this market turns bullish now, guys, listen to me. If this market turns bullish now, it's going to be very hard to get entries. Very hard to get entries. We are at that daily trend now. We're at these areas now. And if you're not building now and putting your stops and stuff into play now, if the market erupts at any point, you can't tell me crypto people are not craving a push right now. They're craving for some sort of gains. And you will see that soon through the charts, that if we break an area, it's going to move very fast. And then you're probably not going to be able to enter the market for the next 2-3 weeks. You're going to have to wait for all the high time frame RSIs to reset and all of that. So for me, it's a stage where you've got to build in these areas now. We're always going to prep ourselves for loss, for risk, definitely. But ultimately, if I don't get a position move now, I have to wait until next year, in my opinion, definitely. So what invalidates this for me is basically the $19,200 mark for Bitcoin, this previous low over here. That's basically where my stops are and where I'm protecting myself. Now, the big ones that I'm looking at, guys, this one is a massive one for me. And I'll say it again. They have their mainnet launch at the end of the year in December. And for me, it's still one of the most juiciest charts. People want to ask, why are you in quite a big Theta position? I'm even in, don't do what I'm doing, guys. Don't do what I'm doing. On this one, go a lot less. I'm even in a massive, I managed to get a really good entry on a 20x on Theta because I'm building a position on Theta for this exact move over here. Let's go back. Is this one over here, guys? This trend has been coming down. Look at this. This is many touches now. This is extremely strong trend. And where we got to yesterday was on the trend line again. And ultimately, what I'm looking for is the same thing. Big green candle over here. The red one, smaller than the green one. If it is, and we're on resistance, I'm super interested. And this finishes in an hour. You can see it's a 12-hour chart that I'm looking at here. Now, the breakout level for me is 103. 103 is for me when we break out, and I want the 12-hour to close out that area. But what I decided to do is, remember what I spoke about last week, is I actually look at trying to build a position when we get to that resistance. Other than this pops off here, then I got to try build a position. No, we're still in the trend. And ultimately, what you want to try do at times is you want to try build your position while we get to the big resistance. Because when the big resistance is cracked, and let's say Bitcoin breaks, this is going to move very fast. And it's going to become really hard to get your entries. So when there is this resistance and this hits up, down, up, down, up, down, I try build my positions full as possible to that trend. And for me, this is a big one. I still think this is possibly one of the better breakouts for the year that we could get, because I do see the possibility of Theta getting back to 1.3 to 1.5, which for me is massive. It's 50% from where we are at the moment. And this is one of the juicy ones. So please pay attention to this one, guys. The market rips. This is one that's very interesting, and that's probably one of the best looking charts that you can find right now. And they have news. Mainnet is launching in December, which means sell the news. Definitely, we'll be selling by December time. But definitely, we know that there's hype behind it too. We've been seeing a lot of tokens move, even though the market's going sideways and Bitcoin's not doing much. We are still getting the popcorn effect at different times, and Theta is one of the big ones for me. Now, the next one, and the reason why I'm in a Solana trade, which is doing pretty well, and this is what you want to get used to, guys. When we have these big rips, we come down, use your horizontals. Whatever was your previous high is your previous support. Look there. Look how it breaks through, new high, comes and tests. Tests, bounce. Beautiful. You want to see the continuation of this, guys. It's very important. You could see over here even. These were previous highs. Look how they held the support after that. And then they started to make the next move. So get used to these horizontals, because you always want to be buying the previous highs because you can protect yourself. And ultimately, you want to be selling as we start to make our way to the next major resistances, which I'll show you now shortly. So Solana is one. The only time I would add for this, guys, to buy, because I think Solana is going to be a big mover if the market does erupt, is we're looking for the possible same thing as Bitcoin. Lower high, higher low, and then breakout. So be aware of this flag that's going to form on the 1 hour. If we get it, it may just run from here. And we're definitely looking at either loading up on this higher low over here, or we're looking at the breakout trade. Very important. Now, let's jump into AVAX. AVAX is still on a spot level. I think leverage, you've just missed your entry for now. But I think on a spot level, AVAX is still in a good entry of loading up on the spot bag, because AVAX is at an interesting zone. It's done the exact same thing. Resistance into support. We broke the previous high. We're testing there now, and it's looking good. Now, remember what I spoke about Theta, where you want to build a position until you get to a major resistance, right? You could see over here, we have a little bit, let's see the percentage actually, from where we are now. We have about 1 to 2% until we're at the major resistance. Now, the major resistance is this long trend, very similar to Theta, right? Very similar. So ultimately, what I'm doing here is I'm looking at building my AVAX position as we get and we approach this area over here. And validation for me is the previous low in the zone. That's where I'm going to protect myself. I don't want to make any more lower lows right now, but I'm trying to build my full position in this area, because once we crack this and we have a proper close, you could see here that it did attempt last week. It did attempt, but it did not close outside of that trend. So when I get the first close outside this trend, I want to make sure my position is in, because once we are out of the sorry. Once we are out of that trend, I want to put my stop losses in the actual under the trend line. Sorry, guys, I talk so much. I get very excited when we get to these areas. So once we are outside of this trend, I want to make sure my stops are in this play, and all I want to focus on is lifting my stops as we start to move. Where could AVAX go from here? If it breaks these areas, where could we go? We have some major resistances. The first one is the area we're fighting right now. That's why it's taking a little bit of time. But if we look through that one, after that, our next resistance is basically around the 18 to the 19. And let's go look at the higher you basically want to mark out what is the roadmap that if I get the entry, where can we go from here? And you basically want to mark out all the previous lows as your sort of roadmap. So you can see over here, you're going to use this low, you're going to use this low, and ultimately you're going to keep building all the areas, okay? Because now your entry is in. You're in your position now. You've built it throughout those zones. And then what's going to happen is you will see that the market, if it breaks out, it's going to go to one of those areas first. Let's say this one, okay? Then it will come down. If it's a higher low, that's great. And it will start chasing the next one. And then ultimately, we're going to put in our support trend to see our emergency line and the momentum that we want to hold. And we will basically hold that trade until we lose that momentum. Anytime we lose that momentum will be an area for us to take profits or to definitely bank profits. Know that that we're starting to lose some sort of steam. So AVAX, Theta. Let's go look. I saw Cardano. Look at Cardano, guys. Look at this. So it retested beautifully. I'm quite annoyed. Let's just see how my trades are doing here. 116%. This one's doing good. Where are we now? 14th. I'm coming, top 10. I'm coming. This one, I'm still sitting. This should go up. I should go third now next. So let's get back into that chart. Where is my... There we go. So Cardano, next one. Pay attention to spots. I wouldn't be doing short-term trades here. But ultimately, where Cardano is here, if we break out strong, it is looking at a rally, and it does possibly show a move where it does something like this to these areas. If Bitcoin does an extreme breakout, you can be looking at us, the first resistance. Remember, you want to take the previous lows. So you want to take, this is the low that we've just broken now, and that's why it's starting to accelerate. Then we have this low over here. Then we have this low over here. And remember what you're doing. You get your entry, and then you're marking out where are all the sell zones, where people would want to sell. And once you have the next low in play, you can draw your support up as you go. But for me, Cardano looks good. Now, I won't be buying Cardano once it's basically above 37, 38 cents. I won't be loading up. But as a spot, anywhere between 35 and 37 is where I'm loading up. I'm looking the possibilities of exiting around 40, which is a smallish shorter trade. But ultimately, I'm looking at 42, 46, 50, 56, because these are all the major next resistances for that. So keep an eye on Cardano as well. I think it's looking good. Let's speak about the big movers. Ones I'm not buying, but ones that I'm not selling. Is definitely Matic. Look at Matic. Matic's completely ripped and doing really, really, really well. It's got one more resistance, which is basically this area. And then we have the dollar as the next zone. And after that, if Matic somehow, because this is one chart that's done really well in the current markets that we're in, if we finally break through this one, the next one's 1.3 to 1.4. So keep an eye out for the dollar mark for Matic, because if we break that, the next gap is pretty big. And you can see that there's these gaps, guys. This is why it's so important to pay attention where Bitcoin is. It's finally outside of that trend. And Bitcoin's got a big gap too. And all these altcoins are showing major, massive gaps as well. So the moral of the story, and I'll see if there's one or two more trades I'll go through now, is build your positions as we get to the major resistances. You're protecting yourself under the previous low, because if we get that breakout, the gaps are big and it's going to get really hard to add to your positions if we start to do that. So build it when people are not fully interested just yet, because they will be interested. If Matic goes to $1.3, it's all over Twitter. If Bitcoin goes to 25K, everyone's bullish again. Like, remember those times. So right now, as we're approaching key levels, is where you actually want to build the positions. Put your stops in. Try get your full position set in before we break these major areas. Because otherwise, it's going to get really hard and really tough. Very important, guys. I am focusing this week on strategies on helping you guys build bear market portfolios and strategies to actually do it in the bear market. And I'll be doing a lot of teaching this week. But I think we just got to pay attention to where we're at now near. So here's one that hasn't broken trend yet, guys. On the 4-hour, near protocol. So have a look over here. Let's quickly get this bigger up on where we're at. Yesterday I tried. It did not close outside that trend. So for me, it closed anywhere outside 2.99, basically the $3 mark, becomes a close and a potential breakout. And the way you will trade this is one that's quite early, guys. So if you wanted to start building a position now, you would have risk over here, which is pretty big. So I wouldn't do any high leverage or too much short time frame, more spot trading in this area. But ultimately, I'll try build my position outside of this trend. Once we have closed and we start to make momentum up, I'll be moving that stop up, get my risk lower. And this is one that's quite early, guys. It looks pretty good. And what I like about this is we have one low over here, and that's basically the 310. So you're still looking at a 10% move in the market. But after that, you got quite a big gap to 3.5. Look at that gap, guys. This is the one. So you want to try build the whole position up for here so you can prosper and you can have it done. Remember, you work your ass off for your entry, and after that, you want to sit back and focus on where am I going to actually take profits. And if we look at potential ranges of the first of 10%, second of 18%, and then we can go mark the next ones, which is way bigger. And ultimately, what I'm seeing Nia do is go test this higher time frame resistance. So remember what I said, that the coin will always return home. Now, remember that. Doesn't matter if the market's going up or down. It's always going to come test support. And for me, this is resistance, but it's basically support in a downtrend market. So the further we're away from these lines, at some point it comes home. And it's very similar to when a market is trending up and then all of a sudden shoots up like this. And your trends here, eventually at some point it comes back here, right? And we've seen that many times within the last year. It's the same thing in a down market. So this gap is very big. So when it comes to trades and wanting to know where's bigger risk to reward and these sort of things, Nia looks like a really good one for that. I see Fantom was also showing a good amount of strength. Look at Fantom, guys, 4 hour, popping its head out. So ultimately for me, the Fantom 21 cents, looks pretty good. It does have all this resistance over here first. Once it pops through that, we have another one at 24, and you can basically set this roadmap. But it is starting to pop its head. So for me, if I was interested in a long right now, Fantom would look pretty good and a stop loss under the previous low. And once we've broken those highs, I will start getting my support trends in play and start shifting the stop loss as it goes. So guys, a lot of the altcoins are still showing many of the same things. This is interesting. Quite a big reversal candle on the dominance. So it's just confirming again that if the market starts to erupt and do pretty good right now, it looks like the altcoins, it looks like they're going to do pretty well because we have a trend here. We've lost trend now on this, and it can look at us coming down to lower. Nia's got big gaps. Try find the coins with big gaps, guys. We're not being offered hodling money right now. That's a bull market. You just hold tokens and you make a shit ton of money. We're not getting offered that right now. So we've got to look at tokens where we can make money in the time. You have to. Very important. At some point in your life, I don't care if you're an investor, short-term trader, swing trader, like you have to learn all the skills. What happens if you lose your job tomorrow or you learn this? Like you don't know the short-term skill too, then what? Then you're stuck. Learn all the skills. Short-term, medium-term, and long-term. Very important. So dominance is also showing us a good possibility of a downwards push in this area. So it just confirms again that if the market breaks out, altcoins. Look at, I didn't even speak about ETH. Look at ETH. ETH looking good, looking pretty decent. It got a really big buy up last week. Now it's making a beautiful support and resistance flip over here. So pay attention to ETH. Looking good. It's got a lot of resistance at 1,400 to the 1,400 to 1,410. A lot of resistance. But if you look after that, the gaps are basically, they start to look, this is 1,400. After that, you start looking and the gaps start to get big. 1,700, 2,000. So there's another big gap happening on ETH. And if you look at ETH BTC, look at that. Broke horizontal, showing some strength. ETH dominance, broke horizontal, showing some strength. A little bit of life for the altcoins. So guys, hope you enjoyed today. Smash the like button. If the market rips, let's be in it. In it to win it. Hope the competition continues. I see Solana's pumping, so I think that's putting me big in the top 10 now, hopefully. But guys, ultimately, let's build positions within the resistances. Let's protect ourselves, and let's have a great week. If it comes at any point, be ready for it, and let's do it. I'll be live on Discord. I'll be on Twitter and all these things, so follow me there, and let's just have a great, fantastic week. I'll see you all on the next show. Much love, Fantom.